Welcome to another edition of the show with no name. This one for February 3rd, 2012, Feast of St. Blaise, Bishop and Martyr. And blessed. Yes, and I got to tell you, Gavin, I was mighty happy this morning when my alarm clock radio went off at 6 a.m. that I wasn't listening to I Got You, Babe.
You got lucky.
So here we are. I don't much care what Puxatawny Phil did yesterday. My groundhog sure as heck didn't see his shadow on George Street. So boy, if we got an early spring, I'm still waiting for winter.
Yeah, it hasn't showed up yet. So
actually, if we got 6 more weeks of winter, it'll be like the first 6.
Very unusual winter.
I don't know how he saw his shadow.
Anyway, I'm Bob Going with Gavin Murdoch and Jim Nicosia. Michael's not here again today. Anybody hear from him?
I had lunch with him Wednesday.
You did?
And he's looking good. He's chipper and upbeat.
Good.
Yeah.
And
Is he making progress with the county?
I think he is a little bit. I think the big thing at the county now is still the health insurance, the trust that they don't have any trust in, and
that isn't a trust. Other than an implied trust.
Other than having a lot of signatures for people who are not authorized to sign.
Yeah.
My suggestion was to immediately go to the Attorney General and get it sorted out legally.
Yeah.
Because everything doesn't sound kosher to me.
So what's their alternative if they exit?
There's nothing wrong. The city does not belong to it.
Except the city kicks into it.
Well, that was one of the things that I saw. I saw a bill to the city for $500 and some $1,000.
Yeah.
And on the bottom of the thing it says, make the check out to Montgomery County Trust.
Hey, wait a minute. They used to be down at 6 Market Street.
Yeah. $500,000.
Insurance trust.
Oh, insurance trust. Okay.
A lot of money.
I said the mayor, the city should not send it to that entity because it
There is
doesn't
no entity.
exist.
Well, I think the mayor's starting to realize that. At least she seems to be contributing to the investigation a little bit here, or at least asking some questions about it, which is good.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't. I mean, everything's a mystery. Who are they paying to do what? Well, there's no oversight. The Board of Supervisors doesn't oversee them. The City of Amsterdam doesn't oversee them.
Was this competitively bid when they got into it?
No. And we don't know if they competitively bid for insurance, for that matter.
No, they didn't.
I mean, the trust was formed basically by the city and the county, such as it was in its original form.
In the original form, it was formed by the county with the city.
Well, the city has ex officio officers on the board.
Yes.
But having officers on the board doesn't mean that there's oversight. There's no legislative oversight, for example. I think the controller may be on the board of something that doesn't exist. I don't know.
Not this controller.
No?
That was a former controller.
Is she still on it?
Her name is still on the papers, from what I understand.
Yeah, well, right, exactly. Like, look, I did this
Well, that's even better because, she was appointed by the guy who put the trust together.
And it's easy. All you have to do is.
It's
It's an amazing thing. They'll probably never be able to unravel that.
You want to get there?
What kind of savings are we seeing as a result of being a member of this trust?
You have to, how do you know? You just have to take the word for it. It would have been this much otherwise. Well, how do we know that?
Well, supposedly,
how do we know that?
Supposedly we're saving money doing it.
Yeah, supposedly, but that's it. That's supposedly.
But another insurance, I'm not sure it's an agent or an advisor or someone said that there's another $1 million to be saved if they do it
Do it differently.
a different way.
Right. Right.
So,
But we don't know.
But we don't know
we don't know.
because
Until he comes in
It's always a
and he
mystery.
puts the proposal in a formal setting. So,
This is actually the site that.
we should point out that this is not something that's particularly unique to these times. Traditionally, I say traditionally, not in the sense of the great old traditions. I'm just saying that historically, let's put it that way, not traditionally. Historically, both political parties can't wait to get hold of the municipality's insurance. And it's, you know, in the old days when things were a lot more strictly partisan, in other words, parties were parties. You know, the Republicans take over, the Republican insurance broker gets the insurance. The Democrats take over, the Democrat insurance company gets the insurance. And it's been that way as long as I know.
yes.
Which in and of itself isn't bad as long as you're getting some kind of competition within that sphere. You know, if the Democrats compete against each other and the Republicans compete against, but there's generally no competition, really. They just accept it.
Well, that's the
And let me
problem.
tell you, it's such a difficult thing to understand. I got 7 years of higher education. And I have sat down on several occasions with different people who know the business, some of whom have an interest in bamboozling me and some of whom don't. And I got to tell you, I glaze over real fast when they start trying to explain this, that, and how you can save this and how you can save that, and why this costs this and why that costs that, and why it doesn't make any difference. I don't know.
It's not an easy subject. Insurance is not an easy subject to comprehend.
And the school districts within Fulton, Montgomery, and Hamilton counties are part of the Fulmont Trust through Benetech to offer insurance. And boy, you just have to scratch your head when they start talking some of those numbers
Oh yeah.
and how they arrive at these numbers and the risk factors that go into and your usage that goes into. You know, it's
Well, that's the other thing about you know, when this quote trust was formed back in 2007. We were not merging the experience rate of the entities. Okay, there was kind of a joint buying thing, but we didn't broaden our risk base by merging with Montgomery County, or vice versa. Them merging with us, we each kept our separate experience rates. You know, we had gotten clobbered. Actually, it was before I was in office, but the insurance had gone up like 20% a year for 5 years in a row, so it doubled in 5 years, and it wasn't a small number to begin with before Joe took office. Remember? And a lot of that was we had a couple of really sick guys working for the city, and their personal health costs were in the hundreds of thousands. So you get one or two of those, and
But that's where the cost is because we're self-insured,
right.
and all the administrator is doing is saying, yeah, this guy deserves the insurance and this guy doesn't deserve the insurance, and they pay the bill.
Right.
But when they switch from Blue Shield to Empire Blue Shield, there's a significant savings in the administration. How can that be? How can that be just from going from one to the same coverage?
Well, that's what's good. It's because it's competition even among themselves. So.
Same coverage.
Wow.
That's the big thing there.
So have we solved that issue? Is everybody turned off this presentation at this point?
Yeah.
Oh boy!
Raise your hand if you don't understand.
Right. So let's see. About a year ago this time, I was walking down a hallway at a hotel in Washington D.C. and this mob is coming toward me. I mean, and you know, cameras and you know those big TV cameras moving backwards, and they're it was Donald Trump. It was as close as me to you. It was just marching down the hall like it was 7 days in May. You know, he was taking over. Now he makes the news again, and then it's. one day he's leaking the word that he's endorsing Gingrich, and the next morning he endorses Romney.
And what better place than to do it in Las
Than
Vegas?
Las Vegas.
It's a gamble.
I gotta say, Tony Benjamin noticed this, and he posted it on Facebook last night, and I agree with him. The Romneys looked very uncomfortable. You know, Mitt was about as far back as he could possibly get to shake his hand. You know, it was a quick 5-minute thing.
Do I want this guy's endorsement?
I mean, you know,
The good news is he's endorsing me. The bad news
I mean,
is
it's
he's endorsing me.
I guess he had to do it. You know, there were people criticize him for accepting it, which I think is silly. But I mean, it's not like he was being endorsed by David Duke. It was just like he was being endorsed by Britney Spears when you get right down to it.
I don't know how much difference.
I wonder if we can get Lindsay Lohan to endorse Michael in
Yeah.
the next election. You know,
Well, he'd like that.
he would like that. He's a big fan of hers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or he could give us a recipe.
a recipe.
Like did you hear the one on the radio the other day?
No, what did they have more stoned raisins?
No stone. No, the guy was going to make a.
You weren't around for that part of our
No.
affairs. No. Michael had this. What was it, like 1914 or
1917, I think.
something like that. A recorder cookbook. You know, the readers of the recorder sent in their recipes and they printed up. I think it was hardcover, wasn't it? I think it was. Bound volume in any event, and he would come in every week. And I think, what was he doing? He was satirizing Rebecca's show, right?
I think so.
Yeah, because they were doing the morning recipes.
Yeah.
So he starts bringing in these old recipes. Honesty, yeah, and he would try to maintain decorum. You know, he said like he was doing a real serious thing, and we were cracking up and making. You know, it was making the fruitcake, right?
I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, we said you start out with a cup of stoned raisins. Oh dear.
And we carried that for about 15 minutes.
Yeah. Will you people be serious? Somebody's grandfather sent in this recipe, and you're making fun of them. They're gonna be crying at home listening.
Well, on the radio the other day,
yes.
some guy called in with a recipe for a stew made with ravioli. And he says, you open a can of ravioli. you should have heard the mic and say it. I said, oh my God. So after they got a lot of phone calls about it.
I bet they did.
The guy finally called back and he says, well, that isn't what I meant. He said,
He thought about it.
you use as many as that would fit in a can. I said, oh, God.
Oh, back to Mint and Newt and our boys there. Is Newt going to have anything coming in?
It's hard. Well, you know, you got Super Tuesday coming up, which is primarily southern states. That's coming up next month. The thing to watch, I think it's not this coming Tuesday, but I think the following Tuesday is Missouri, which is not only a non-binding primary, there are no delegates awarded, period. But it is a beauty contest. Missouri wanted to stay within the rules, but they wanted to be early. So they're getting some attention. What's interesting about that is that Gingrich is not on the ballot in Missouri. And the current polls are showing Santorum up by about 11 over Romney, a double-digit lead. That will be really the first test of Santorum's strength vis-a-vis Romney. Right now with Gingrich in the lead, people who might otherwise be voting for Santorum are voting for Gingrich to beat Romney, and there's all these machinations going on. I think that Santorum did so well in that last Florida debate that he's getting some serious attention from serious people because he was the adult on the stage at that one. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm hoping he shows some momentum. And again, we've talked about this. The rules have changed this year, and most of the primaries are not winner take all; they're proportional. And boy, that can lead to any number of possibilities. No,
I think everybody thinks your vote counts when you have it like that, as opposed to winner takes all.
That's right.
So it doesn't matter if I'm voting for Nudis Santorum and I'm just not voting for Mitt. Now,
All right.
I got a voice in what comes out because I'm voting for Santorum, and he's going to get something for it.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. I don't know. I'm eligible. I'm a natural-born citizen.
You weren't Caesarean?
Slightly over the age of 35.
You got socks older than 35.
That was pretty good.
You got socks older than 35.
I know.
And you're wearing them.
If they're loyal.
Every once in a while, I'll put on a pair of socks and that are distinct, and I remember when I bought them.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a couple of pairs that I've had since 1989. No kidding. And I still bring them out once in a while.
Things were made to last back then.
Well, way back in 1989, back in the olden days, years ago.
Made in the U.S.
The way things used to be. Well, I don't know. I see. What is this? Misha playing in a triple header? What is this?
Oh, he's playing for Rotterdam soccer now.
Right.
Their travel team, and because of the Super Bowl and some other scheduling issues, they ended up having to play 3 full games last Sunday. Wow. So they played for over 150 minutes of soccer. So
that's absurd.
We thought so halfway through the second game,
That's a game of run. Do they play 3 full games?
They play 50-minute games. That's what they play at the U12, and they have two 25-minute halves. So where he plays, because he plays up on top as a striker, and he's all over the place, sweating like a stuck pig, and he's good. I mean, he loses weight once a week. It's good, and he did well. He did reasonably well. He had a couple goals and a couple assists in the 3 games.
Did he play the bagpipes during halftime?
No, but in a couple weeks.
But he sold hot dogs.
But in a couple of weeks, he does have bagpipes in the afternoon, and he's going to play soccer at night. So he's got a couple two-dayers. So it's good to keep him.
So they're not playing on Super Bowl Sunday? Is that
They're only playing once on Super Bowl Sunday, but it's early enough to get home to see the game. So he was happy about that.
Wow! All right, we got the. This could be a really great game.
I think it's going to be.
It could be
a great game. I mean,
it's got a lot of hype into it.
It's got some tradition to it because it's the second time they played each other in the Super Bowl. Plus, they already played each other once this year. It should be a great game. Weather will not be a factor this year.
That's true.
As opposed to if they give it to Giant Stadium in a couple of years, weather could be a factor. But
they're going to play the Super Bowl in Giant Stadium?
They were pushing it. And one of the discussions when they built the stadium, that they would be considered to have the Super Bowl played there.
In 14, right?
In 14, yeah.
That's nuts.
It's not, absolutely, I think it's crazy. But that's been the discussion. And
unless they're going to hold it like in May.
Same thing. I can remember
It might be fun, though.
Could be a lot of fun. To watch if you're not there in person.
Well, didn't it snow during the World Series a couple of years ago that Philadelphia won, or at least it was really cold rain?
And I have kind of issues that
I do too.
Baseball is a summer sport, and you see guys in hoodies and neck warmers and gloves on the bench.
Right.
It just.
Not to mention you can't get your arms warmed up to pitch. It's like it's a survival thing and not a sport.
Yeah, absolutely. All they'd have to do is have each team play 3 home doubleheaders during the course of the year, and they'd get back into maybe
and end the season earlier.
Right. The season end a little bit earlier, and it'd be all right. I mean, teams don't play doubleheaders. The ones that they do play are usually a day-night. After the first game, you clear the stadium out and you re-ticket everybody coming back in.
Right.
Not like they don't have enough money coming in anyhow. And speaking of attendance, there were some figures the other day on one of the channels that the NFL is becoming a spectator sport, spectating from home, because of all the channels you can watch all the games. Last year there were 1,600,000 unused tickets, so unused tickets for NFL, which is the largest amount they've ever had.
I think it's not just that the games are available. HD has changed everything.
Yeah.
I mean, the HD televisions were made to watch football. We got ours, I don't know, a year or two ago, a couple of years ago, I guess.
Oh,
and the first time I saw a football game on it, because the old TV was so old I could not remember when I had bought it, and it only got like 80 channels on the
only 80 channels.
Well, I'm saying that was the maximum number of channels on it. I had to feed it through the VCR to get the upper channels. Wasn't even 80. No, it was 70. It was 70 was as high as it was. Not even 70, because I had to put it through to get the Fox. Yeah. Anyway, but boy, it's wow.
And you can stay at home. You can spend $1,000.
Plus, you can see what's going on
several times.
Right.
You can, for $1,000, you can buy the finest HD TV,
Right.
as opposed to $1,000 and seeing one game freezing your tail off.
Right.
And it's going more and more that way, because people, one, they just can't afford to pay the prices.
Right.
Super Bowl ticket, worst tickets in the house, $2,000.
Ridiculous.
Is that right?
Yeah.
A ladder on top of the ladder.
And the stadium was full. They said there was 105,000 attendance.
In Indianapolis?
Is that what I heard?
Well, I
I don't think
don't
it's
think
that
that's
big.
it. But
Maybe it is.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
Well, now we're in Los Angeles Coliseum territory when
Yeah.
you get that big.
Yeah, I don't think there's a football stadium in the country that holds.
Yeah, I thought
Michigan
that-
holds 75.
I thought
Michigan
the
State.
biggest was 85,000 somewhere that I heard.
Could be, but I don't
But I
think-
heard the attendance.
Well, they could have 20,000 standing room seats. I don't know. Maybe they do.
They wanted to do that in Dallas last year, remember? That was
No.
a big controversy when they played down in Cowboy Stadium down there, that there was people that had paid for tickets and found out there was no tickets because they had expanded the size of the press corps or something, and people were all upset and they couldn't even get in even though they had tickets.
Wow.
But it's it's a great spectacle to watch on TV. Starting at noon for the next 6.5 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. Then kickoff coming sometime, but at least it's early. It'll be before 7 o'clock this year.
6:30, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
But anyway, so that's that.
So we can get to bed at a reasonable hour following
So
the game.
So the game's over at 10:30.
Yeah.
Well,
Down.
we were out in California a couple of years ago during football season, and it's so unnerving to see the first game starting at 10 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, it's just, and everything's over by
Yeah, they got the best of all worlds. So who? I know that you don't gamble or anything, but a lot of people in the MCM probably.
Well, it's interesting because it's the two teams that I root for are both in it. But I'm a Patriots fan. But it's such a good lineup. The Giants sucked all season long. Every game I watched, I said, "What is the matter with them?" And if their offense wasn't off, their defense was off, and sometimes both. And they had a pretty lousy record for a team that was in first place. They were in first place like the whole season, I think. And I'd say, boy, what are they in, like second to last place now? I look at the standing; they're still in first place. How can this be? They're terrible. But then, this is why this is going to be a good game. The last time they played, right, in the Super Bowl, the last game of the season was the Patriots and the Giants.
Right.
It meant marginally something to the Patriots because that was their undefeated season, okay? It meant nothing to the Giants. Win or lose, they were going to be in exactly the same place in the playoffs. And there's anything I can't stand, it's watching these teams lie down on the last game of the season. People are paying for the tickets, but the Giants did not lie down. They played great. They played their hearts out. They played every razzle. They pulled every razzle-dazzle play they could think of to try to win that game. They lost. But I looked at that and I said, this team is going all the way because they've got heart.
They did. They put a lot of points on the board.
And they, and then they showed it. And the key is going to be Brady, which Brady shows up. And you'll be able to tell in the first quarter by the look in his eye.
Whether or not enough people have been praying for him?
Well,
His wife is
Asked for that.
she asked for everybody to pray for him.
that's true. That's true.
So they can come out happy from the game.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But the Giants are playing in peak form. The Patriots have been playing pretty damn good through the playoffs. And there have been some good games. It's been a great playoff season.
I think it's going to be a high-scoring game.
It could be,
I think,
and it might not be. Who knows?
yeah, you never know. You never know.
Because one thing unfortunately that happens in the last game is people play not to win, they play not to lose, which means you've got that tight, low score in there. They're not willing to.
I mean, it's not going to be
gamble.
not like the Pro Bowl.
Not like
Oh,
the
what
Pro.
I didn't even.
Now, when did they start playing that? Is this the first year they've played that before the Super Bowl?
Second year.
Second year.
Yeah.
Second or third.
Well, I suppose you got to do something on that Sunday
Well,
in
that's what
between,
that's what they
but
decided.
it was kind of a nice. I kind of like the way the thing just kind of. A decompression period when it was after the Super Bowl. You get all hyped up for the Super Bowl, and then football season's over, and you just go. So with the Pro Bowl afterwards, it's just kind of like, and then of course you get to see the players from the teams that are playing in the Super Bowl,
Right.
which so the two best teams put nobody in the Pro Bowl, right?
That's right. That's right. That's right.
I didn't even watch it. I didn't have it on.
Well, it was pretty high scoring. I mean, it was like they were like, please don't make me touch you.
Oh yeah, there was no
No
head
deal.
tackling on. They were using.
Oh, my
They were
God.
all grabbing around the waist and trying to pull people down. And I was talking to Misha about that. He said, we're going to watch it. And he started and he said, this is really interesting. I said, it's not. Way back in the day when we were kids, it meant something because guys got paid a chunk of change for going there that was a good portion of their year-long salary.
Sure.
All right, and if you won, you got paid more than the loser. Okay,
Right.
so there's some incentive.
Right.
And the fact that these guys were able to go to Hawaii, because back then these guys weren't making this kind of money, it was a big deal. And they really wanted to go, and they really wanted to do well, and there was some hitting going on, and guys had some pride.
But now when they're making millions of dollars a year, what the heck is a little
That's
bonus
right.
from?
Do I want to, tear an MCL or an ACL or a BS out there? Who knows, And to carry over, we watched the baseball channel a lot in the winter because the only place got anything about baseball. And they were talking the other day about the All-Star game. And Misha said, it's important now. He said, but it was always important until recently when it didn't, which is the reason they went to making the winner
Putting the incentive in.
the incentive in. I said, you go back when we were kids
Right.
and you had these guys playing. You had guys that played all 9 innings. Okay.
Yeah.
Willie Mays wasn't going to go and do his token appearance and come out after 3 innings to let, Richie Ashburn go out and play center. By golly, he wants to play the whole thing. And you saw, they had a lineup, and there's 6 or 7 or 8 guys who never got in the game. You had a chance to go, but you had your all-stars, the guys that people wanted to see, play the whole time, and they played it tough. The starting pitcher had to go 3 innings. Okay, now they throw 3 pitches and then bring somebody else in. And he said, is it good to have a player from every team? I said, I think it's not a bad idea to have one from each team. But you don't need to have 9, the way they do it. They've got 40 guys that go to the All-Star from each league. Back then you had a
Well, you didn't
25-man
have
roster.
nowhere near as many teams for one thing.
No, you're right. They didn't have as many teams.
Yeah.
But it was those guys played for something. They played for pride. So I can remember listening to Lasorda one time. He says, "Listen, we haven't lost a game in 8 years, and I don't want to be the first one to lose a game after 8 straight years." Then you had that big stretch where the American League won.
Right.
But then the importance of it really wasn't there, which is what we're going to call now it's a tie game. What are you talking about, Commissioner? We're going to call it as a tie game, okay? That's what I think absolutely destroyed the importance of the All-Star game. But anyhow,
I think I've told you about the olden days when
Yeah, I know. He's a good friend of mine. He was telling me about that.
before I started going to see the Red Sox regularly. I had been to maybe 4 games in my life up until the time the Red Sox were playing against the Reds in Cooperstown. As an adult, I mean, I'm talking about maybe 30 years ago, less than 30 years ago. It was when Pete Rose was the manager, whenever that was. Yeah. Anyway, at that point, I had never actually seen the Red Sox win in person. Every game I'd been to, they lost. Not by much, but I'd never seen them win. So Pete Phelps gets us tickets for the Cooperstown game. Pete could get anything. And as a matter of fact, he bought and sold the tickets about 20 times before we walked. Anyway, it was when the scandal broke about Rose and the gambling. And the Reds had been playing Montreal, and they were busing down from to Cooperstown. And the word came down that the bus had broken down and they wouldn't be able to come. Well, we all know what it was about. Pete Rose wasn't going to go to Cooperstown in the middle of the scandal and face a lot of questions and boos and everything else. So they put together 2 Red Sox teams. I think that was the year Yastrzemski was inducted, so they had the Yastrzemski team and the Williams team, I guess. And I think Yastrzemski was there. I don't know if Williams was still there at that point because it was the day after the induction. In any event, there's the 2 teams. And they're going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It was really exciting. They got a lot of their young guys up from Binghamton or whatever, and each team had a couple of members of the regular squad. And we got I guess it's scheduled for 6 innings or 7 innings, I forget. And in the bottom of the inning, but meanwhile I'm saying, thank God, I finally get to see the Red Sox win.
I can't lose.
I can't lose. The Yastrzemski team ties it up in the bottom of the 6th inning, and then they announce the game's over.
Oh.
I still didn't see them win.
That's too
Since
funny.
then, I've been on a tear, though. They win 9 out of 10 games I go to.
Oh, that's funny. But now they don't even play that game in conjunction with the Hall of Fame.
They don't even play the game. They stopped playing the game, didn't they?
Last year they stopped.
This year, I think.
Yeah, they stopped playing the game altogether. Yeah, and you're right. For a few years, they had moved it up to May, not in conjunction with the All-Star. And I think that's just wrong. You got the Hall of Fame inductions, you got everybody in town, you got all the excitement, and then you got the game the next day. I mean, it's perfect, and then they say, it can't fit into our schedule, blah, 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 blah. Nobody wants to do it, the players don't want to do it, da, 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 da. And then so they moved it up to May when the calendar's a little lighter because they have all those rain days built in, and so now it's gone. Now it's gone.
That's too bad. It's too bad.
That's wrong. That's completely wrong.
Yeah, because again, I think we mentioned before that the Baseball Hall of Fame is the unique one of all of them.
Yeah.
Because they really are the best of the best that are in there. It's not it's not the guys who are really good.
Right.
The guys who are okay. They were the best.
It's really tough to get in.
And what do we get? We got 1 this year. We just got
I mean, there's some years where you wonder if they're going to have anybody.
and a couple of times it has been nobody elected by the baseball writers. Have had guys elected by the veterans or by the special committees.
Yeah.
But it's still the best of the best. And again, watching these cybermatic programs on the baseball channel, they are breaking all these numbers down. Who else should get in and stuff. I'm looking at. Yeah, he was a really good player, but he wasn't the best.
Right.
He wasn't the best of his era, which is what you look at.
Right.
Just isn't. And I hope they keep it like that because that's what baseball means to maintain its uniqueness in America, and that's one of the things that makes it different and makes it better.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
It makes it better. We were talking about seeing the Red Sox. Traditionally, my oldest son and I would go down with Tom Harrison and his two boys to a Yankee game each year. And we were fortunate that 2 years in a row we had a chance to see the Red Sox play the Yankees.
Wow.
And both
Those are
times,
tough tickets.
They're expensive tickets. They raised the price for those games.
Oh yeah,
Stadium.
dramatically. Yeah.
And the one time we went, the first time we went to see them, they also limit how you can buy the tickets. You can only buy a package of 4 tickets. So we had to buy a packet of 3 and a packet of 2. All right. So he calls up. He gets seats. I call up. He's in. We get there. He's in left field. We're in right field. So we're sitting over in left in right field. My son and I, and he and his 3 sons are over there. And I said, "Geez, Todd, there's nobody sitting in these seats in front of us. There's nobody. This is like the 3rd inning. Why don't you go find him?" So Todd said, "I'll go." So he goes wandering around and he finds him and he comes back. And I said, "I thought you guys were right opposite us." He says, "Well, let me tell you about that. We got there and the seats had been converted to handicap only. And so they had to move us. We were out behind the pole in left field. So they were lucky they came over and sat with us for the rest of the game. And the game went extra innings. And it was the first time I'd ever seen a pro game where the team in the field, the Red Sox, played with 5 infielders because it's extra innings and the way the bases were and how many outs there were. They came in and played 5 infielders. Okay, because the fly ball wasn't going to matter.
Right.
You had to get the out. Well, it worked out. Boom, boom. Yankees get the run. Yankees win the game. We go back the next year and we have to get tickets. Same thing. Price is higher. Had to buy them separate. But we got them in the same row with each other. Right in front of the snipers. They're the only people farther back than us were the snipers on the roof. We're in the top deck of Yankee Stadium, okay? They were 4 seats away from us this time, so we switched, so we got to sit together. And honest, that's high. Those upper deck seats are high. Real high.
Could you see the players?
We knew there was players down there because we're around it. That we knew the field was down there. They go to extra innings. Jeter takes his dive into the stands.
You're at that game?
We were at that game. Our old friend John Morendo was also at that game.
Was he really?
Yes.
God bless him.
But he'd gone down with somebody in the limo. They had to leave before it got over to get back. So we stayed to the end. What does Boston do again? They bring the outfield in. They play with 5 infielders.
Second time you've seen it.
Second time, 2 years in a row. Well, they got out of it at that point in the game, and it went even further. But what was unique, and I think very special, was that, I don't remember the game, 12, 13 innings, it went forever. A lot of the Yankee people left the game. The Boston people didn't. And by the time the game ended, with the Yankees winning, it was about 50-50. But these later innings, as the numbers diminish on the Yankee part, the
Yankees suck.
No,
Yeah?
the atmosphere was electric. Everybody's cheering and you're rooting, And when the Yankees won, I thought we just won the World Series.
Those were great
people
games.
were walking down, they were yelling and screaming.
Those 2 teams have played more great games against each other in the last 10 years than any 2 teams ever.
Absolutely. Because they play them like it's the
They
World
play them like
Series.
it's the 7th game of the World Series. Yep.
And for a long time, that's the closest the Red Sox got to the World Series.
Right.
So it was. But it was absolutely electric, and it was worth the extra going down there. But we did get the impression that it's wrong to charge you more to see those guys play than somebody else play. Because when we went down, we saw in Cleveland, we could get the tickets all together. It didn't matter. There was no restrictions.
Let's face it, you're getting a heck of a lot more when you got those 2 teams playing each other, aren't you? You're getting a heck of a lot more of a show.
A show, an atmosphere.
Right.
And I never had a chance to go to Fenway Park, and I hope someday to be able to go to Fenway Park.
You would not believe the atmosphere in that park. They can be down by 7 runs, and the fans are into every pitch. And I two games in a row I went to over 2 seasons. They were down by 7 runs and won the game both times. and one of them was a playoff game, and you know, some of the people got up and left, and I said,
They regretted it later on.
too bad.
Yeah.
You just missed the greatest comeback you ever saw.
We years ago we went to
They were done by 7 runs in the 7th inning, the one game, but they came back and won it.
we went to see the Dodgers play Philadelphia at Old Veterans Stadium.
Yeah.
It was awful.
That stadium, I saw a game in that stadium, and it's like, you know, it was one of those modern stadiums
Yeah.
that had 90% partial view seats. No matter where you were, you couldn't see the whole field.
And there was absolutely no atmosphere.
Yeah, none. I read a book. I read a mystery while I was watching the game.
And it was more exciting than the game.
It was more exciting than the
There's
game.
just all atmosphere there.
It was a year that the pitcher who blew the World Series, Wild Thing.
Mitch
Yeah,
Williams.
yeah. Did the same thing in that game. Okay, he comes in the 9th inning with a 2-run lead, and they lose. You know, the closer comes in and gives up 4 runs or something.
He's one of the guys on the MLB network that does analysis.
I don't think he ever stepped foot in Philadelphia after the World Series game. They traded him in the off season. They never, you know, they didn't have a parade because they lost.
And they had a big to do with him in New York that series because he made some comments about riding the subway and it wasn't safe, and so everybody in New York City hated him for it. The first game I went to, in 1963, I went down with my dad and my grandfather to the Polo Grounds to see the Mets play the Dodgers.
Wow.
We went down for a Saturday night game and a Sunday afternoon game. And the Saturday night game, Johnny Padres pitched. And
My God, that's right. He was still around.
he was,
Yeah.
and he pitched. The Dodgers won, and Frank Howard hit a ball to left field, and up in the lights, you never saw it come down. It was out someplace. The next day, the reason I really wanted to go was see Koufax because he was pitching, and the Mets were beating him. We're beating Koufax. And the Dodgers,
Be still my heart.
the Dodgers get the bases loaded about the 4th or 5th inning, and there's one out.
All right, I'll see you later.
It was Roseboro. I know where the other guys in the base are. It was Roseboro up and batting, hits a ball to Marvelous Marv Throneberry. Now, I'm 11 years old in 1963, and when the ball gets to him, I see this bubble form over his head, and I can see what he's thinking. I can take the ball, I can throw home and get the force, and they can throw back to me, we get double play. I can throw the second, and they can throw back to me the first, and get the double play. Or I can step on first and then throw the second, but they're going to have to take him. I'm going to throw home. Willie Davis is walking to the dugout before Throneberry decides what he's going to do to throw that ball home. Needless to say that the Dodgers end up winning the game, and we see Frank Howard hit another home run. But the Roger Craig was pitching. He threw him a curveball. It was going to land in the dirt on the other batter's box. He reaches out. He literally, let's go with one hand. One hands it a bullet in the left field. I was like, wow, that guy is good. But that field was, the atmosphere was just great because we hadn't been that far removed from New York. And that center field was so far. You need binoculars to see from where we were to where the fence was in center field, or where the clubhouse was down there, because it was so huge. But I never forget Marvelous Marv Throneberry. You know, just that's where he got his nickname, Marvelous Marv. He just wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer. It was funny, but we had a good time. But one of my worst experiences happened while I was there.
What's that?
One of my worst experiences in my life happened at that stadium.
In the Polo
In
Grounds?
the Polo Grounds. My father got me a hot dog, got my grandfather a hot dog. I get one bite out of the hot dog, I'm drinking my soda. There's a pigeon. Shits right on my hand and hot dog.
The hot dogs are probably a butt, so nobody could afford a second one.
It was, and you're a little kid, it's like,
I think even as an adult that would be somewhat off-putting.
We got it cleaned up when we stayed for the game. I calmed down eventually. But it was just a great adventure. We drove down He got stopped by the cops because my father was going the wrong way on a one-way street down there. But he pleaded ignorance, and they felt bad for us. And he let him off. But it was just a great time. But the atmosphere was great. So going to these other stadiums, you can see whether it's good or bad. Shea Stadium's the same way. It's terrible. Yankee Stadium is great. We've been twice to Shea. And one's an old Shea and one a new Shea. And it's like,
Yeah.
there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Go to Yankee Stadium, holy cow.
Well, in Fenway, it's like everybody's sitting around the TV in the living room. It's that intimate.
Yeah.
You know, no matter where you are, no matter where you are. I mean, each section has its own flavor. The bleachers are really rowdy, to say the least. You know, they for a long time the bleachers in the grandstands used to do the less filling tastes great between innings.
Really?
Don't miss the opportunity to go there because it's hard to get tickets, but it's worth it no matter whether you're rooting for the team, no matter what team you're rooting for. Frankly, I've been to a lot of Yankee Red Sox games there, and at least prior to this continuous sellout they've been doing, there were usually maybe 40% Yankee fans in the stadium because you got all the college kids there, you know, who are New Yorkers. They're going to school in Boston.
Which town? It's Apple.
A lot of fun. One time, Pete Phelps took me, Vito D'Andriano, a bunch of people. He had gotten seats from somebody behind the Orioles dugout. It was back when the Orioles were like a little league team. The manager was Cal Ripken Sr. and he was playing his two boys. You know, Cal and Billy were in the field, and the girls were all the teenage girls were all going gaga over Billy Ripken. Cal Ripken was like one of the greatest ball players of all time. They could care less about him, but Billy. Oh, there's Billy. Oh, Billy. Yeah. So anyway, we're about 14 rows in back of the Orioles dugout, which is nice seats. Pete never sits down for a ball game. He just gets up and wanders around. He knows every usher in the Northeast, and most of these other people too. And he comes around the fifth inning or so. He grabs me and says, "Judge, come with me." This is like 1986. I was like a judge, like 8 months at that point, something like that. It's late in the season, the game means nothing to either team. One's in sixth place, one's in seventh or whatever, fifth and sixth, whatever it was. But it was a good game. Bruce Hurst on the mound for the Red Sox. Wade Boggs ultimately scores, knocks in the winning run. So anyway, Pete grabs, come with me. He takes me over to the Red Sox dugout side, where the usher is Judge White's brother-in-law's brother, okay? His sister's husband's brother. And Pete gives him $5, and I'm sitting down with the Red Sox wives. I'm in the second row next to the dugout. Those seats are going now for like $600 a game or something like that. And then, so that's where I am for the rest of the game. And they interview Boggs right in front of me and all that stuff. Holy moly! But Pete's a legend. When the new Yankee Stadium opened, meaning the one they just tore down, right after that, or shortly thereafter, I think the same year, they had the All-Star game down there. And Pete snarfs tickets for the All-Star game. I don't know how he does it, right? This is before I was getting tickets from him. But so he and Ziggy Purek and a bunch of guys go down there, and they're like you, where their seats are in the top deck someplace. And you get all the pregame ceremonies and the excitement and all that. And Pete's gone; they don't know where he is. And now it's getting we're getting ready to start the game, and there's no Pete. And one of the guys has got binoculars and he's looking around. Now they're playing the national anthem, right? And there's Pete Phelps on the top steps of the Yankee dugout with his hat over his heart. In uniform? On the field. He's on the field. the Yankee dugout, and you know, Reggie Jackson comes off, he shakes his hand, and all these other guys, have a good game, guys.
How's he do it? We went.
Somebody said to him one day, Pete, who do you know? He said, who don't I know? But can you? I mean, how can you top that? I mean, he manages to get in the Yankee dugout during the All-Star game.
No, connections. It's who you know.
Yeah.
How well you know. We went down once to see the Yankees play back in the early '80s when Pinella was coaching the Yankees.
Yeah.
And we bought tickets from scalpers, and it's the only way to get in. You get better seats. So we were quite a ways up behind home plate. So we're watching, you know, we're empty seats, you know, try to work our way down. And back then it wasn't a big deal. I mean, if there was empty seats, people all the time moved down.
Right.
So we moved down. We were about 8, 9 rows behind the Yankee dugout, empty seats in the box. We're sitting there. And we went down on the day they used to give out those little miniature bats.
Yeah.
You know? Well, we're sitting there, and all of a sudden,
Well, right, I mean,
we hear this commotion.
Yeah.
A war going on in the upper deck. These guys are going at it with these bats and stuff. And there's a lady sitting there. And Dan Tesla, the guy I went down with, the teacher at the high school, has some binoculars. She says, can I borrow your binoculars?
Okay,
So we handed the binoculars, you know.
well, I'm just.
And what's going on? And the lady says to her son, go down and tell Daddy to look up in the upper deck. So the kid goes up and bangs on the dugout. Pinella comes out. It's Pinella's wife. We're sitting right next to her, and she's got these binoculars watching this fight going on up there. And it's going on, and the cops take people away. So we're sitting there, and she had, there was 2 boys and a girl. And the one kid was the most ill-behaved child you ever saw in your life, one of his kids. It was unbelievable. So finally she said,
Well, we expect his father's never home. You know, he grew up without a father. Poor
Yeah.
kid.
So she ends up sending the daughter out with him to take him home, so she didn't have to put up with him anymore.
Wow.
But now, I mean, you can't get any place in the stadiums. I mean, you got to show 6 tickets to get down to your own seat.
Oh, I got you.
You know? But it's different. It's different. It's a different age we live in, and
See, this is what my eye looks like right now.
strange folks all over the place. And have to protect ourselves from ourselves.
Well, we went last spring to Fenway. Mary needed a wheelchair because she just had her surgery on her ankle. And we had regular ticket. There was no way we were going to get to our real seats because she would have had to climb like 14 rows, and she couldn't climb one step, really. So we did, I tried going the usual. Can we trade these for no? Well, no, you got to go to that one. No. Finally, somebody said no. Just come through here. The guy takes. They open everything up for us. We go right in. He says, go up such and such a deck and see this guy. And we go up there, and they have these, these handicapped areas. Now they sell those seats as handicapped seats, but they usually don't sell them out as handicapped seats. So you go see the guy. It's like right behind home plate. I mean, not down where the guy who looks like Robert Redford sits, but up on the next, the top of that tier. And really nice view. You kind of might miss the ball in flight going to the outfield, but otherwise, nice. And boy, he took care of us. He'd shuffle. Other people might be coming who got the tickets. I might have to shuffle you around a little bit. I said, no problem. And I found a couple of kids who had standing room seats. I gave them our tickets so they could go over and see the game sitting down from nice seats. And,
So you do something nice.
Nice. That's right. I slipped the guy $10 somewhere along the way, and next day we had tickets. I came back and gave him $20.
That's how people should be.
Yeah. But you feel welcome there. That's the thing, and that's something that they really instill in their staff. When my brother was working there, he was a Fenway ambassador for a while, and before he became Dr. Trash, the same season he became. That was the year they went to the World Series, 2004. And they would, among other things, wander around and talk to people. And if they found somebody, you know, like a family from Maine or something who were taking their kids to their first baseball game ever, they would upgrade their seats. They said, come on us, and they're going to take you down, you know, give them a box seat somewhere that they had reserved for that purpose. And, you know, but the whole idea was just to make friends. And it's a nice way to do business.
People remember the good experiences,
Yeah,
and they remember the bad.
right. That's
And,
right.
You know, it takes two people that do something good to get people back. It only takes one person to have something bad happen,
Right.
and they'll take care of a dozen people
Right.
never showing up again.
And I'll tell you, every place we went in that park, every time I've been there, they treat you like gold, really. Even if you're wearing a Yankee hat.
Still got green money.
Yeah.
I spent a summer in Chicago. I was at the Newberry Library, and that was in 87, 88. And so we had a chance to go to see the White Sox and Cubs play. And that was the first year that the Cubs had lights. That's when they installed the lights.
Oh, recently.
Yeah, recently, you know. They didn't have lights before that, you know. And that's when and it was for the first night game that they started having people use the roofs like they do. You know, and they get some pretty serious money to have people come up on the roofs and watch them across the way. And we had pretty poor seats. We were up in the upper deck, and, you know, literally they still have those pillars there that you just can't see. They sell a seat there, and that's where you sit. But the next time we went, we got our tickets from Scalper. The most expensive seats that they scalp on are the ones out with the bleachers. They get more for those than do any other.
Right?
People want to sit out there in the bleachers for the experience. To be out there with the, you know, like they say, you can see in the bleacher creatures.
Right.
And it's absolutely wild out there. You know, the atmosphere. It's a whole different thing. But that's a little, like Fenway, a small park.
Until fairly recently, in Fenway Park, they had a separate entrance for the
Yes, they do.
bleachers,
Yes,
and
they do.
you could not go. You could not. The people from the bleachers could not go anywhere else in the park.
And nobody else could get over to where you had.
Right.
You're right. You had to go through that one entrance out there.
Yeah.
You couldn't just move into there.
They've since homogenized it, so
They
you
let it mix.
Yeah.
Let some of those people cross the border.
Yeah.
You know. But it is different out there. Just like Yankee Stadium, you got the bleacher creatures out there, and it gets pretty brutal because, you know, down to my son, we go out the
I
right.
watch a lot of games from the bleachers, and frankly, it's a pretty good view.
Oh, the view is
Yeah,
good.
yeah. My brother one year had, for one of the playoff games, had what was in a magazine article as the worst seats in Fenway Park, behind one of those pillars.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it was close to the action. It was fairly close to. It was down the third base line, but not far off the plate, and so if you're going like this, it actually wasn't all that bad. Anyway, we should wrap up the first hour here. On the next hour, we're going to get into some serious political stuff and some nostalgia political stuff, and who knows what else. I'm Bob Going with Gavin Murdoch and Jim Nicosia, and this has been the first hour of the February 3rd edition of the show with no name.